This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCLive.tv.
Freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right. The government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. My name is S.M. Gibson, and this is Anti-Media Radio. It is May the 12th, 2016. You are living in history right now, watching the most insane, crazy presidential election of yours or my lifetime. As we say many a times, we are still marching off the cliff. We now have soon-to-be President Daddy Trump promising world peace, because why not? World peace. That's great. He can promise anything. He's going to do anything.
Apparently, there's a clique in India who actually believes that and has come out in support of Trump.
So, as always on the show, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Kevin Knight, co-host. Kevin, what's up?
Hey, man. Good to be back with you.
Yes, sir. And in studio tonight, good friend Rob Wyckoff. Rob, what's up?
Hello, friends. How are y'all?
Doing good. And Shannon is out of the country on vacation.
He's trying to retrace the steps of John McAfee.
I think he is. And but Shannon will be back in 2 weeks. So, yeah, hope you're having fun in Costa Rica. So, yeah, we have the people in India in love with Trump. But we have the people in the United States in love with Trump, and that's what scares me. We've got Louis Farrakhan endorsing this man. Whatever. We live in a country where it's apparently you can go kill a child in the streets and go turn around and sell the gun on the internet. Apparently that's the world we live in. For anybody that didn't hear about George Zimmerman getting the bright idea of putting the gun that killed Trayvon Martin up on the internet to get some of that dollar bill, y'all. He said that the Smithsonian wanted the gun. They did not. They issued a statement saying they did not.
I don't understand why the Smithsonian wouldn't want it. According to George, it's a piece of American history. That's what he put in the description for his auction.
He did.
You could own a piece of American history.
Well, I mean, he's kind of right in a weird sort of David Koresh kind of way.
Yeah.
Charles Manson, those people.
Right.
OJ wrote a book.
Yeah. Terrible people love to cash in on terrible things, I guess.
That's it. And that's what he appears to be doing. We also have a ton of news about Hillary Clinton. We've got the Jon Stewart thing, which we're going to get into. Claire, we're going to have her on later in the show, wonderful journalist Claire Burnish. We'll talk about that. And then let's see, what was the other thing she got up to? I'm kind of all over the place tonight, so just...
Yeah, me too.
We're just going to deal with it.
Well, we still have the whole quandary of Justice Department employees donating so much money to Hillary's campaign while she is under investigation. I don't think we talked about that very much on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Is she going to go to jail? Like, why are we even having these conversations still? Like, this is the thing that frustrates me, is we can sit here and harp on every single detail. Hey, did you hear this new thing that happened? Yeah. Okay, we were talking about the story earlier that came out today about the Guardian, or in the Guardian about 9/11, and blah, blah, blah. Somebody said Saudis, blah, blah, blah. It's a huge story, but guess what? We've known all that. This is just somebody admitting that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Something we've known for a long time. We're just finally somebody's lifting the veil up to just go, yeah, you weren't crazy. As we tried to make you sound. That's all this is.
There is some validation in it, though.
There is a lot of validation in it, but where all those people that were standing over the rest of us going, you're crazy. The Bill O'Reillys, the Sean Hannitys.
Right.
Sean Hannity, of all people, who I have seen scold, call crazy, anyone who even says the word 9/11 with a question mark after it. This guy is like, oh, we need to release the 28 pages now.
Of course he is. It's time for the band. He's on the bandwagon. Trump. Trump just mentioned it.
I hadn't been able to stomach. I hadn't seen Sean Hannity's face in quite some time. I used to try to watch and keep up with it just to kind of know what the, know what the idiots are saying and kind of counteract the narrative. But yeah, I hadn't been able to stomach any of that for a minute. And I probably should get into it, especially with the election going on and the entertainment in front of us. Bernie winning more states. Bernie's not going away.
Well, surprise, surprise. Bernie takes West Virginia. Hillary really burnt that bridge with her coal
the coal comments, yeah. So let's see. I know Claire is bringing up a bunch of stories about Hillary, but here are some of the big stories that you have not really been readily reported. Kevin, have you heard that the Kremlin supposedly has seen at least 20,000 of Hillary's emails?
Yes, actually, I did hear that.
Yes.
Not surprised.
And
do you believe that?
Maybe, yeah. I do. I don't think they were that secure.
No, they definitely were not.
Yeah, I do, actually. I don't think that what she was doing was that secure, and they're probably not the only people that have this information.
Oh, certainly not.
Either.
And how exactly do we learn about that?
I don't know who first reported it. I've seen it's been kind of going all over the world today. I mean, it came out of Russia, of course, at first.
I can't think of his name. He's
is this the Ukrainian hacker?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Actually,
that's where it came from, yes.
Okay. I read an interesting story about this guy actually earlier today for about 30, 45 minutes. I think it's
the Guccifer guy that's done all kinds of
okay.
apps.
Well,
yeah.
okay.
I didn't understand your question.
No, it's fine. Actually, and I got it wrong. I read a different article about on a different hacker other than Guccifer. But interesting guy. That story, to my understanding, first surfaced here a few weeks ago for the first time.
They were supposedly investigating him, and that's how they got access to these emails.
Imagine that.
From him.
He's been at this for a long time, right?
Right, but he's here now. He's in US.
Right, he's locked up.
Right. But, Russian security was searching him and came across some stuff they thought was interesting. Having to be 20,000 pages.
Whoa.
Supposedly 20,000 emails or whatever. Of Miss Hillary Clinton's email, and even Judge Napolitano is even saying all this. So I guess that's picking up steam. I don't know if it's going to become a Fox talking point? Or
I would imagine it is. I mean, obviously, we've got to have something. I mean, we've had no update whatsoever on, or very little for that matter, on the FBI case. This would be a great. I mean, even if it's nothing but a bone to throw to the folks catching and following up on it. You know, what we've heard lately, just more. You know, people are really starting to doubt that this is going anywhere. It'd be a great time to throw it out there.
I mean, it looks like, you know.
Unless you're wanting to make sure Hillary doesn't stumble anymore, and she already has. And you're a media conglomerate or a couple of them.
Yeah, but it's how, you know, they prop her up, because we're looking at now, you know, I don't know if you heard this, all the conditions have been met for her to release her Wall Street stuff too, all her speeches. So, because she said what both sides, Republican and Democrat, had to release everything. Well, guess what? Bernie did on, you know, the day he was born, because he's never given one.
Right.
And
it's go time for her now.
That's it. So I tell you what, I want to go ahead and bring on a journalist, investigator, brilliant woman, Claire Burnish. Claire, what's up?
Not much. What's up?
What's up, Claire?
What's happening, Claire?
Howdy, everybody.
All
Can
right.
I get your autograph?
Can you email me your autograph?
Yes,
right,
please.
just a picture. If you could just sign it really nicely, just send us all a picture.
You won't be getting any credit with that signature, so don't even think it.
Well, Claire, we've already kind of hit on about 10 different topics here at the beginning of the show. You've got a couple of big stories up on the front page of the antimedia.org right now. I tell you what, let's just go ahead and jump into this Hillary Clinton thing. I mean, there's so much going on between what the Kremlin's saying and her Wall Street speeches, Jon Stewart, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Which one do you want to start with? There's so much when it comes to Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's kind of like how she has every position at the same time. She also has every scandal at the same time.
Did you hear, and this is, you know, probably a little off too, Sadiq Khan, the newly elected mayor of London, the first Muslim mayor of London, who everybody was kind of, I guess they were celebrating that as a victory for being progressive, but it's not really, because it's kind of like another Obama establishment kind of a thing, because George Galloway was actually the candidate in London who was promoting the values of stop bombing Gaza. You know, let's have a Palestinian state. He was actually, waving that flag, and this is kind of the establishment version of that. Anyways, he said that Hillary Clinton is a role model for his daughters. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what great progressive ideas we have coming out of the newly first Muslim mayor of London. Hillary Clinton, role model for his daughters, and of course he doesn't like Trump, but that's fair enough. But yeah, he loves Hillary. Says he's going to help her get elected all the way from the UK.
That's bad. That's really bad. I'm still not sure how anybody actually supports her at this point. I'm really just not sure.
They're unicorns. If you see one, take a picture. Rents.com will pay a lot of money for that.
Rents.com. I didn't know anybody else had stumbled across that website.
I think that was myself. Wasn't that like the first website on the internet?
Oh, it probably was. It still looks just like the first day it was formed, I'm sure. But they do keep it updated with random.
Dude, I haven't been on in 5 years, but
I can't help it. It comes up in my Google searches, man.
Anyways, Claire, Hillary Clinton, where do you want to begin? What irks you the most of all the positive, wonderful things we've learned about Madam Prison Mate, whatever number she's going to be?
Well, I guess maybe at this point I'm just not sure why she hasn't been charged yet. I mean, it just seems as if there's a mountain of evidence stacking up against her, and I guess my concern is that they're going to wait too long to charge her. Like they're going to wait until she wins the nomination or until perhaps she
Why is it-
gets in office, which is a different debate. But
To me, looking at it just from a political chess match, I would wait till after she gets the nomination.
Well, that's the thing. The FBI is you would think, and according to James Comey, who actually said, I think it was either yesterday or today, I was reading an article, listened to some snippets, but he was saying that he's feeling definitely, it was actually a few days ago now, Claire, I think we mentioned it just briefly last show, that he's feeling the pressure to hurry up and speed this investigation along, and he's says he's not going to succumb to it, that he's going to let it take its time. He's not going to let the fact that she's running for president inflict with his investigation. But he did bring up for multiple again for several different times. This makes that he's mentioned that the terms that Hillary Clinton uses to describe what he calls an investigation is completely not something. Excuse me, I should say he's never heard of the terms that she's using.
right.
So to me, I know I can understand. I think everybody's wanting something to happen, waiting for the first shoe to drop, and wanting to see this go through. But either way, he's going to be convicted, or at least the FBI is going to be accused of either doing this for some political. It's going to be politically influenced one way or the other.
I heard an interesting theory today, so I'm going to just throw it out there. I think it was on the Young Turks, because you know how Facebook is. It just starts playing videos down your timeline, and I caught this.
Oh, yeah.
And he was saying that if they were going to throw somebody into the ring, the Democrats, before the nomination, that it had been rumored a long time ago that they would probably throw Joe Biden in the ring. And the way that they would do that would be to test the waters. And Biden just recently said, I would have made a better president. So it sounds almost as if they might be testing the waters, throwing his hat in the ring kind of early, because they are getting ready to charge Hillary.
I don't think
And if they if they bring him into the ring, then they can bring him into a contested convention and have a backup candidate in case she does get charged.
Well, I think that's on the back kills, of course. I mean, but
Joe sure would make a shitty candidate, wouldn't he?
I think he'd be fine because his son just passed away. I think you couldn't really attack him too much.
I mean, who takes him seriously?
Nobody takes him seriously.
He may be a good
candidate.
candidate.
Nobody thinks he would ever in a billion years win, but he wouldn't embarrass them. Well, he would because he's Joe Biden, but it would be lovable
But it wouldn't surprise
embarrassment.
anybody. We'd all laugh
It would
together.
be lovable, right? It would be lovable embarrassment, not just Hillary Clinton. We're all going to prison embarrassment.
Right.
Yeah, I think we all have Uncle Joe holds a sentimental place in our heart.
Right. I mean, it would be embarrassing, but it would just be embarrassing for way different reasons, and it would be cute embarrassing.
Right.
But Joe had a lot of support before he announced he would not run.
Well, understandably so, because the only choices that were in front of him at the time were the socialist or the fascist.
And those choices have changed none.
Right. So, of course, I can understand. There were people begging Mike Bloomberg to get in the race, and he said he wasn't going to do it.
And in a general election, I think Joe Biden would be more palatable to moderates.
I think Joe Biden is
Trump.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
I think Joe Biden is a better establishment. I think if I'm the Democrats, I'd run Joe Biden.
Against Trump?
Against anybody. Hillary... Bernie's not electable. I hate to tell that to people, but his policies for his economics he's not electable. And I get it. He's not the evil person like the rest of them. I understand that. We're not talking about his moral character, whatever you think about Bernie Sanders. He's not electable. The end. So, because we're living in a country where Donald Trump is electable. So, yeah.
Who would have thought?
Right. Because that's Kardashians. Bernie Sanders isn't a Kardashian. Donald Trump is, if you know what I'm saying. So, Bernie Sanders ain't getting elected nothing.
If not in the actual candidate.
Just like Ron Paul. He was never getting elected.
That's exactly who I was
either.
thinking the whole time. But if not more than a platform, at least he's got a platform. And that's what I think Bernie actually probably thought he had a chance to win. whereas Ron kind of knew what he was up against.
Ron knew. I know Ron knew.
And we know why Ron ran. I think, it gave him a platform, and that's what his whole goal was to educate, whoever would listen.
Right.
He did a good job.
Oh, he certainly did.
Donald Trump has said the words Federal Reserve out of his mouth, whether he meant it, whatever he means.
Oh, you're right. He's
certainly at least,
even if he's throwing a bone to the so-called Alex Jones crowd, which is what he was being accused for with, Roger Stone was speaking to Jones and kind of trying to act as a go-between, so to speak. But even if that be the case, a lot of the Federal Reserve crowd are the Federal Reserve crowd. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them are there because of Ron Paul.
I 100% am. I'll admit that.
Well, he definitely wasn't the first, but he definitely kicked it up a notch and paved the way for a lot of new ones.
I wasn't a 25-year-old going, I wonder what's going on with the Federal Reserve today. I was playing a guitar, playing music, and listening to records, and I kept up with politics.
Long-haired hippie.
Yeah, I kept up with politics. Really? I kept up with all that, but I wasn't researching. I knew of the Federal Reserve, but I wasn't, reading Jekyll Island yet. All that came because of Ron Paul. Because finally I heard a politician go, oh, wow, this guy wants to leave people alone just like I want to do. And so I was like, I want to hear what he says. And then so it led to learning all that stuff.
The Federal Reserve was my issue, too. That's where I came from. And it was through John Birch Society, who a local chapter actually did a lot of the footwork to get Paul into office the first go-around. So, yeah, the Fed, man, that's a really a big issue. And it really has the ability, at one time at least, it seemed a lot of people from the left and the right and the middle and everywhere in between were really fired up about this.
You heard, Bernie went off on Andrea Mitchell and said something about don't give me Hillary's problems or whatever he said.
No, hadn't heard this.
Yeah. Bernie kind of snapped there a little bit, but it was just Bernie. But,
yelling at the TV.
People like, I have Andrea Mitchell. Andrea Mitchell, by the way, for people who don't know, who works for NBC, a journalist, Andrea Mitchell, who's there to give you unbiased information and news, is married to Alan Greenspan, the head or the former head of the...
Former head.
Right, before Bernanke and before Yellen. But former head of the Federal Reserve. So it's basically the equivalent of the most powerful institution in the country's wife giving you information. Please, that's freedom. That's free independent media right there. All right. Yeah. All right.
Got a great story to tell you later about a theory about gold, about him and possibly trying to speed up production of the dollar to crash it. Amazingly, he actually used to be a big fan of Ayn Rand. Greenspan was a big Ayn Rand.
Greenspan flipped. Yeah,
he did. He signed. Was it Milton Friedman? Who was it?
Ron Paul's.
Ron Paul's was his.
With his book and said he told Ron Paul he still believed all that stuff.
Right, and that's
for those who don't know, Alan Greenspan used to actually believe the right way as far as the way the economy should work and actually having the dollar backed by something. And then once he became head of the Federal Reserve, everything he had written, all his his research, what put him in that position, that all flipped. He changed and kind of kept burying us into the ground. And he told Ron Paul he still believed all that stuff he wrote back in the day. Even though, despite his policies, despite everything he did, he told him he still believed that.
If that didn't tell you what kind of power lies there.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Scary stuff. All right, Claire, we kind of got way off the topic of where you at with Hillary. So I'm going to throw the ball back in your court.
In the Fed.
I don't even know where to go now. Let's see.
Do you think, Claire, I don't know if you want to get too far into it, but I know there was a little discussion between a couple of us, including yourself, that Hillary, about some polls looking fairly favorable for Hillary up against Trump. Is that what we're understanding?
Yeah, she's actually Sanders is a little bit ahead of her against Trump, but it's not very significant. They both top Trump in polls where the pollsters put them against him, and
can I talk about this poll? I'm sorry, I have to do this just for everybody listening. Okay, we're going to do a poll real quick, and I just want an answer. I don't care what you believe. Just quick. Trump or Hillary? Kevin, just give me a name. Trump or Hillary?
Trump.
Trump. Okay. Rob.
I'll go Hillary.
Hillary, Claire.
No.
Just give a name.
I was going to.
I can't do it. I just can't.
Who do you hate the most? It could be a person you hate the most. Just say a name. It's just for scientific purposes. Just say a name, Trump or Hillary.
Jill Stein.
Either way, Trump wins 3-0 because that's my poll. Polls.
Yeah, I know that polls are not in themselves, like, they're not worthy. They're not a really good barometer, but they are a good barometer. They're just not good to take very technically. I mean, they can give, over time, they give a good pattern for what the popular opinion is. I realize that they're somewhat arbitrary and can be completely misleading. So, yes, take that with a grain of salt. But I don't know. I mean, there's still that popular opinion that seems to put both of them on top of
Have you ever met a Hillary supporter in person?
One.
Okay.
Just one.
In the story.
Does Facebook count?
Yeah, really.
Is that in person now?
Yes, I'm going to go with yes.
Oh, then yeah.
I've met one, including social media.
Yeah.
You know, here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. At the
2, counting Hillary Clinton's personal page.
Hey, I could have gone Hillary. Hey, right here. Rob said Hillary, but that was only in a worst case situation. I'm curious, Rob, what do you feel? And because I'm probably pretty sympathetic to your view on this, not knowing at all what you were going to say, but I mean, I guess you have more reservations about Trump than you do Hillary, or is there something particular that?
Yeah, I have more reservations towards Trump than I do Hillary. I also, just for my own purposes and beliefs, I tend to lead, more towards the left than I do the right. I think
I get on to him. I have to do it. I get on to him for being libertarian. I'm just going to get on you for being that way. I'm going both ways with it.
And look, there is no practical reason for it. And I honestly have as many problems with Democrats as I do with Republicans. And I'm a Democrat for the only reason that I vote.
The truth comes out.
Oh!
Let me guess, he's fired.
Registered.
Oh, beyond fired.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Tell my mama I love her.
We're going to have a number tattooed in his arm before the night's over.
No, because it makes me feel good. If it's going to be a useless exercise, then I would at least let me feel good about it.
You can't feel good about voting for Hillary Clinton. You can't.
She's not a Democrat, for one thing. I mean, if you call yourself a Democrat, you could not possibly call out her name.
Yeah, Trump is
I
probably
can
more of
at
a
least
Democrat than Hillary
understand
is,
Bernie being a feel-good vote, but you can't say that. I can understand Trump being a feel-good vote, but not Hillary.
And honestly, if it weren't for the more hateful side of Trump's rhetoric, I would have an easier time voting for him than I would Hillary.
As far as language, I would vote for Trump before Hillary.
Here's the thing. I don't think Trump even believes what he's saying, though.
No, I agree.
I think he's totally speaking to people to get a run. He employs how many immigrants, and yet that's one of the things that he's accused of.
Yeah, but Hillary doesn't even know what she's saying because she flips all the time. She'll take either stance depending on who she's talking to.
So does Donald Trump. That's all both of them do.
I know, I agree.
But
I'm just saying, neither of them, that's why I can't even call out a name because they're like the same person.
No, they're not the same person. That's not true because, look, I will say this over and over and over. You cannot, as a journalist, as a person that looks at things objectively, you cannot say that they're the same because we don't know what Donald Trump is. We don't have a clue. We've heard him say so much nonsense. Donald Trump could be the second coming of George Washington. Donald Trump could be the second coming of Adolf Hitler. We have no idea. There's no voting record. There is nothing to base anything he has ever said on. He has just been a guy in the media running his mouth. Now, when Marco Rubio or Hillary Clinton or Ted Cruz makes a comment, you can go look at a voting record and go, is this actually what you've stood for? Who have you taken money from? What have you done in your career representing people? And I'll know if you're telling me the truth. This is why I did like Ron Paul, because that stuff lined up. Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, whoever else you name, the stuff that comes out of their mouth does not line up with how they vote, nor does it line up with whose money and whose checks they take, because they're all in-pocket scumbags.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's my thing about Trump. You don't know. And I have to say that. Hillary, we know. That's a given. 100% we know who she is.
Yes, I understand that. In terms of them being the same person, though, it's equally bad that we know exactly who she is, because what she is a terrible thing. But it's also equally bad that we have no idea what he is. We have no idea what he's going to do. Those two issues are equally bad. That's what I mean by the same person.
Now, I'm going to be devil's advocate here, and this question's for everybody, and this is just to be devil's advocate. Is it worth rolling the dice at a 5% chance Trump's not the worst president ever, and we know what Hillary's going to be? Like, we 100% know what Hillary's going to be. Is it worth rolling the dice on? I don't
For
personally.
a while, I thought no, that it was not worth it. But the one thing that I've seen Trump be consistent on is his stance about NATO and about intervention in foreign wars. And the one thing that's been the opposite, that you can obviously point to blood on the hands of Hillary. That's kind of been
she can't say a
right.
word
That's
about
kind of
any
been one
that.
of my guiding kind of. Hey, I know who was the lesser of two
He's
evils.
got her own foreign policy. He can.
Oh, definitely.
This is the first time a Republican can look at a Democrat and go, "Your foreign
I got
policy
you.
sucks."
And to me, that's what echoes down, and that's the reason why a lot of the libertarians for Trump got together. That was kind of their. Well, that was the reason being too. It was going to disband after he became the nominee. It was only because his foreign policy, which a lot of people believe,
his foreign policy again goes back to what he says. Obama had a great foreign policy. Obama won a Nobel Peace Prize for saying some stuff. Eight countries bombed later.
don't
that
believe
hasn't
it.
worked out well for a lot of innocent families in the Middle East.
Well, you're right about that, and I don't necessarily look for Donald Trump to keep his his word either. But of all the stances he has taken that have flip flopped, that's the one thing he's been consistent.
He
on.
hadn't flipped on that wall.
No, he has. Well, he's not always been a fan of the wall. That's the thing. It's been a relatively new kind of stance. It has not been the last few years. Whereas NATO and his opposition to NATO and the U.S. funding it has been, 20, 30 years. Even when he was a registered Democrat, and was upfront about his Democratic leanings, that he was against NATO and about U.S. intervention then. And he was supposedly against the war in Iraq. So.
I believe him on the trade stuff, and that's only because of his finances. But Bernie believes that too. I think that's one thing I agree with both of them on. It's trade. Screw that NAFTA business. Screw the TPP.
But at the same time, they're wanting to impose
The
huge
TTIP.
tariffs and start trade wars with other countries.
Trump will start a trade war.
Oh, right, definitely.
He will.
Which is going to benefit who? I mean,
Time will tell. I mean,
well, we can tell who it won't benefit, and that's the lowest common denominator, which is you and I and everybody else on out here in Middle America.
I mean, it's so pointless. I mean, I think we're going to get the same result no matter what.
What's hard to argue?
We are.
Yeah.
No.
We are. I just can't. I mean, I can't even. The conversation feels so moot to me at this point. It's just like, well, it doesn't really matter who gets there because the same thing is going to happen, if not worse.
Yeah, I mean, we still do have the Congress, the House, and the Senate, both. It's the same.
I know. I agree with what Claire's saying. I get what Claire's saying.
No, I agree completely. Exactly what she's saying, and I'm driving home the point that we still have the same two houses of government that still pass the same BS that they've done for the past several years. So yeah, of course.
Well, even you think about the
And not
things
just
that
on
are
that
law.
level.
This is why it's such a charade, because think about the things that are law. If it's a law and they don't want to abide by it, they don't. If it's not, like, who cares? Like, people just do what they want when they're in a position to do that. Now, it's always going to come down on you. It's always going to come down on me, because that's the way the system works. Okay, this system was created by the people that it's going to benefit the most. Because that's human nature. Because people need to get over this whole idea that government is their protector, or the people above them are their protector, or their boss is their protector, or whoever. That's nonsense. These people aren't their protectors. They're not there to keep them safe in any way, shape, or form. They're there to live their life and get what they can get, just like you're trying to do. And you know what? There's people that are a lot worse than you in this world. And those people that are trying to get somewhere will slit throats to do it. And they will slit yours to do it. And these people try to achieve positions of power, so they run for elected office. And when somebody comes up to them with a checkbook, they say, please, I will take it, and I'll do what you want, and I will do your bidding, and I'll have power, and you'll get what you want, and we're all going to win. Because that's human nature. But if you want to keep thinking that the box you check is your American just greatness and you're living a wonderful life, you just keep believing that. And you go turn on Vince McMahon, which we talk about all the time, and you really believe that Roman Reigns is the world champion. All right, I'm done.
That's how you finish an epic rant.
All right. Tossing it back to Claire.
Hit it, Claire.
Okay, well, on the issue of, the people in power kind of thwarting the law or just basically ignoring it, that really points to that whole thing that I wrote about totalitarianism and authoritarianism and the, possible future fascism, which would also equally apply to both Trump and Hillary.
Agree.
So I think that again, I guess that just points to politics being kind of a moot issue at this point. I mean, we're going to end up with the same thing no matter what, and it's apparently getting worse and worse, and there isn't much of an effort to change anything, and people are just kind of falling into the trap, I mean, people are like, Trump is going to save everything, or Bernie's going to save everything. It's like, no, they're really not.
Oh, no, they're not. And I think there's two sides of that, because I think it's like with everything else, you can't sit here and say a Trump supporter is this. There are Trump supporters out there that are, I don't know why I like him, and he could literally say anything and they will agree with it because they're just morons. And then there's people out there that are like the so-called Alex Jones crowd. They're like, but he said this about the Federal Reserve and he said this about foreign policy, and they do know topics and they can recite that stuff. But at the same time, what is it going to get you? Whether you're believing the propaganda or you're informed, what does it matter at the end of the day? And you say, well, it's all a moot point. So if all that's moot, where do we go? What's the topic of conversation if there's nothing we're going to do that changes it?
I just don't think you can use the system to fix the system. I think that things have to be, you have to work outside the system. And part of that is withdrawing your support for the system, which in my opinion is the vote, although I know people disagree with me. So you start with withdrawing the vote. Then you also withdraw your money from the system in whatever way you possibly can. Like from the corporations running it, from, get people to stop enlisting in the military. And I mean, there are so many ways that we can kind of subvert the system without having to work within its confines.
Yeah, great point. There's a lot out there, and people think it's easy. It's funny when you first start becoming interested into this school of thought. It's like, hey, what do I do? Where do I look? This stuff interests me, and then suddenly, once you get connected and you actually get your perception is altered, and you're actually you can see what exactly get a better idea of what's really going on. Everything kind of starts falling into place. But man, isn't there a lot you can do and a lot that tries to always hold you down at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to fix everything, and it certainly wouldn't be a very quick process that way, but it is at least a start, and it's a sign of hope that there are things that can be done that you can work outside the system. It is possible. Completely withdrawing is just not going to be possible for everybody, like living off the grid in some shack somewhere, but, for the most part, you can do small things and kind of get things working in a more positive direction for everybody. And then once you learn how to do whatever it is that you do outside the system, say growing your own food, then you pass that knowledge along. I mean, it's seeds. You just plant a seed and pass it on.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and live.
Yeah,
and live by example. Yeah, one day there's going to be a rainy day coming. You never know how. It's amazing sometimes the seeds that are planted, how and when you actually start to see a plant grow and see the work you put in. But yeah, it's not going to be an overnight thing. So No surprise there. There's plenty of frustration comes and heartache when you feel like you're the only one crying into the wind.
It is. I tell you what, I want to go ahead and go to the phone lines now. Area code 660. Thank you for calling Anti-Media Radio. This is your host, S.M. Gibson. Tell us your name and where you're calling from tonight.
Hello, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just tuned in your radio program. I just wanted to hear what you're talking about. What are you guys talking about tonight?
We're talking about what you're talking about.
All over the place.
Yeah. Mostly Hillary researcher topics.
Is there anything in particular you'd like to get into?
Well, I just kind of, lately I've just been kind of getting this buzz in the air that I think things are really going to, I don't know, the fecal matter hits the oscillating electrical device, in the next, this whole election thing is so crazy right now. And like I go onto Reddit and I look at our politics posts and they look like our conspiracy posts, we're talking about like Hillary with her email scandal and all these things going on. You guys get a feel for that?
Definitely, yeah. I can.
Well, it feels like, I hate to say it, but, InfoWars has gone mainstream. That's CNN now. Those stories are on everything.
It's a surreal world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had a guy on 60 Minutes not too long ago talking about 9/11 and
28 pages Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, really. Yeah. That was a big deal.
That's starting to bleed out more because of that report, supposedly.
And 28 pages was trending on Facebook for a short time as well.
That's it.
And it's in the news today.
Yeah, good point. I saw that. It's resurfaced again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've always been under the impression that the mainstream media is so controlled and stories like that don't get out, and now they're just getting out. And I'm just kind of like, what's going on here? There's just something isn't quite.
I agree with that. I tell you,
sometimes there are controlled leaks, though, too. The government will leak small bits of information on purpose to make things to shake things up and keep the people enticed.
Yeah, kind of like the Daily Show. They tell the truth, but they make a joke out of it. It just kind of diffuses the energy from the situation, like the court jester would for the king. The thing, right?
See, I don't think it's coincidence at all either that Saudi Arabia has now released its plan to get off of oil production as its main resource of driving its economy, and all of a sudden we're throwing Saudi Arabia under the bus. I just don't think all of a sudden after 15 years somebody's just going, oh yeah, there's 28 pages sitting here that we forgot about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the economics of the situation is pretty coincidental to the politics of the situation.
Yeah, I go to some other websites like Full Disclosure Now, and this event's coming soon. I don't know if you're familiar with any of those at all, but it just seems like I just think about with the election in general, it's just things are so just getting exponentially crazier. And we got like 5 or 6 months till the election, and it's kind of mind-boggling right now. I feel peaceful about it. I don't feel like anything really wrong is going to happen, but it's kind of exciting that all these changes are going on.
It is, and I can see that. I think there's, especially I think people see with Bernie, and I think they see with Trump. They think that you are having these more conspiracies type stories getting into the mainstream. I think people feel like there is a resurgence, and what terrifies me is that we're going to get in the position that we kind of did with Obama and the Democrats too, but you can recite this for whoever you want. You get what you want and you go right back to sleep. Like you think it's what you want. Like you think Trump's going to fix everything. Trump, I believe, was 100% going to be the president. What scares me is these people think he's going to fix something and he's not.
Right.
And they're going to go right back to sleep because they are angry now. And they should be angry. But they're channeling that anger through Donald Trump. And he's going to screw them just like Obama screwed the Democrats and like they all screw everybody. So
people will go back to sleep as long as, the bed's comfortable to sleep in. But if we have an economic collapse of some sort or another financial crisis, there's only so much people can take when they've got nothing left to lose,
Don't listen. Let's go ahead and put that to rest first.
That could happen, man.
No. We know the U.S. cannot possibly default.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
And why is that?
I forgot Donald Trump told us that the U.S. can't default because we can just print more money.
We can just print all the money we need, damn it. There's more to want some more. There's more to come with that.
Yeah, I forgot Donald Trump.
Well, then we'll end up like Zimbabwe, and that's another way of saying we're going to have an economic collapse.
Have you seen what's going on in Venezuela right now?
That's horrible, man. Woo. Well, and that's one thing Trump's trying to do. He's trying to make the argument that if we devalue our currency, that we can basically get our
devalue. It's been devalued.
Well,
he's 100 years too late.
It is, but at the same time, I mean, it is. But when it comes to trade deficits and whatnot, he wants to try to use this to lower our basically argue the debt and try to have this whole kind of reshape, much like you would restructure a business's debt. This is what you get when you put a so-called businessman in office as the head of the country because you claim, oh, he's a businessman. Dude, George Soros is a businessman, but is that who you want running the head of the country that you happen to live in at a given time? No.
But he did a TV show. He was on my TV.
He knows.
He was on. He's in WWE Hall of Fame.
Trump's pretty nice. Trump Hotel's pretty nice. You ever stayed there?
Yeah.
You tell me this man can't run the country?
Is it?
Well, when do presidents really run a country? We haven't had a president since Kennedy, a real president.
Oh,
even Kennedy complained that he had to pick his...
He wasn't a real president either because that was a rigged through the state of Illinois.
Yeah, well, he admitted that he had to pick his advisors from the CFR and the Trilateral Commission, that all his advisors were basically the same pool of people that all of them... But yeah, you're right. It's never... The president's just a figurehead.
Yeah, well, he also tried to reissue currency under the federal government, didn't he? Isn't it every president... Like, Lincoln was assassinated for doing the same thing.
Yeah, he's trying to go with the greenbacks and and he didn't want to renew the Federal Reserve's 101-year charter or something, 99-year charter.
It always amazes me that people give Nixon so much garbage about Watergate. Nixon ruined this country, and it was because what he did in 1971 with pulling dollar off gold, just being done with it. That's it. He destroyed what little was left.
Oh, yeah, he did.
That was the end of what little was left.
Can you imagine if you're these other countries and the United States does this and the United States say, hey, guys, don't worry. That was what
he did Watergate.
Right.
It's like, well, he collapsed the economy. So why don't we focus on that one? But it wasn't like he was getting helped out to begin with either.
You want me to chime in on Watergate?
Yeah, what you've go for it, man.
Well, I was pretty young at the time, so I was only about 4 years old at the time. I didn't really that was just, I don't know, I just think that's business as usual for all politicians, and he just got caught, that's all.
Hard to argue that it's not, this definitely was nothing new, spying and mischievous going on like that. No, you're completely right, man. Great call.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But, I think Claire hit the nail on the head, though. It really is all a moot point. I think it's all, we can sit here and discuss the theater of the entire situation. And that's all we're doing, We're talking about the reality show.
Well, I don't mean to be like doom and gloom about it or something. It's not really like that. It's just kind of like it's so dead, it's so corrupt, it's so broken that there's no point in even working within it, and there are so many better options. That's all I mean.
I actually, I do completely agree with you. It's not like there is, an option in front of us. Gary John, you're going to go vote for Austin Peterson? Do it. Austin Peterson.
I'm voting for Gary, only to assist.
John Mackey, man. I'm picking John Mackey.
What a guy, huh?
Yeah. How you not?
What a guy.
It doesn't matter. It's all pointless. It's all theater.
If we're going to elect President Camacho, we might as well go full Camacho.
Yeah. John McAfee would be the guy.
You know what bothers me about John McAfee? He was heading up the so-called Cyber Party before he's jumped to the Libertarian Party, and there's a couple statements that he's made including the I didn't really put a lot of thought into it at first, but you remember when this stuff came out with Sam Bernardino's cell phones, and he offered to assist the FBI in cracking all this stuff. Not that that's a huge false pile on his part in that respect, but some of the statements he made as a member of the Cyber Party were a little bit, I don't know, a little bit made you question his libertarian bona fides.
I don't think
just a wee
the
bit.
Cyber Party was something he invented, though.
Oh yeah, I agree. But just his statements when
No,
he was
he
speaking.
was, like he
no,
told
I
us
agree.
that.
Yeah, but speaking under
For anybody that wants to hear that interview, please go back to YouTube and type in John McAfee Anti Media Radio.
boom and listen to him try to get a little aggravated at our host towards the end. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's all in good fun. It was. Apparently, this happens. I've heard him do the same thing with a couple other people.
But, so Claire, I tell you what, speaking of all this politics and all this, there's a story you wrote up yesterday that has been all over the internet now about the Irish owl that will greet those fleeing Trump with a hug and a pint.
Yeah. So, if all else fails, there's an escape hatch. First, Canada was offering Cape Breton Island. Some radio DJ up there, kind of as a joke, proposed this Canadian island as a safe haven if Trump is elected. And now an Irish island is following in those same footsteps. Inishturk has offered with open arms to bring anybody in who is trying to escape basically American politics, particularly Trump. And they're having kind of a big population decline. It's about 9 miles off the coast, and they say they have kind of harsh winters, but it's a really nice place to live, and the pictures are gorgeous. But there's only 58 permanent residents on this island, so there's plenty of room for anybody who would like to go there as an option.
Oh, Ireland.
Now I'm down.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's my roots, apparently, or my ancestry, so.
I want to tell you something. They're really underplaying that weather. That weather's way
Yeah. Yeah, it seems, it's 9 miles off the coast. It's an isolated island. It's really far north. The winters might be a bit much for some people here, that to get used to, but it did sound nice, and they have a low student-teacher ratio, so there is that, too.
So cold that you said there's 58 full-time residents?
Yes.
They're all White Walkers. Game of Thrones show. Who's with me?
Yeah, you're that. See, I'm on the dark on the Game of Thrones thing.
Well,
I know. Now I feel like an idiot.
yeah, there's not enough time for me to explain it, but
I've seen.
if you were into it, that would have been a good joke.
See, probably. I know it was.
I stand by it.
See, that's the thing. I feel like I missed out from the humor.
Yeah, I do, too.
So the good news is we can go Shane McGowan it up in Ireland.
Yeah, and I heard that there's this island for sale that doesn't really have anybody on it at all in somewhere in Scotland. It's kind of in a bay.
I'm sure if there's a place in Scotland that even the Scottish won't go, it's a paradise.
Yeah, well, I'm going south. I'm thinking Mexico myself. So there you go.
There's going to be a wall to protect you. That's the place to go.
I think we're finally figuring out what the wall is really for, though.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I believe.
Yeah.
Ron called it, man. Walls keep people in too.
Yeah.
Yeah, people forget that.
They do. Well, why would anybody want to leave the United States of America?
Want to leave?
Gosh, that was creepy.
Hey,
America.
it says it on our beer now. It literally says America on our beer. Even though it may have come from overseas.
Have they put those out yet? Are those in the stores?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Maybe.
Because I was wondering how well America is selling.
I bet it will sell out. I predict right now that America will sell out.
Yeah. Good call.
That's my... And bada bing, bada boom. So, okay, for real, Claire. So we sit here and we talk about these politics, and we sit here, and it does sound so doom and gloom, and it's just painted so negative. But it's really not. Life isn't as negative. It's just that people have to stop. They have to keep up with what's going on in the world around them because of the people that are willing to take advantage of not only them, but people in their life. But, just live your life. Stop being invested in all this nonsense.
And, I think a bigger point, like that's a really good point, but to take it a little bit further, politics, and particularly election years, have the tendency to just create division and just polarity, and it's all this controversy and everybody yelling at each other and people taking sides and stuff. I mean, it's really absurd. When it comes down to it, it's really the people in power versus the people who aren't in power. And it doesn't really matter if our various positions are a little bit different. We are still the people not in power. And if we remember that and work together, we can accomplish so much more than yelling at each other about which person in power we support.
Here's the fun thing, is all of the people that are fighting amongst each other, none of them have power, so it doesn't matter who wins the argument.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. It does not matter at all. All it does is make the situation more miserable for all of us. Put our differences aside and work together against the people in power, and then we'll be starting something.
Oh, Claire, I heard a rumor that we had a different opinion on this one social issue. So because of that, nope, we will not be working together. Screw your freedom, screw my freedom. We disagree on this one thing.
Well, and it's beneficial to the powers that be to keep people like that.
Exactly.
So it's
exactly.
That's how they keep people fighting.
Yeah.
That's it. Because
it's a strategy as old as time. Divide and conquer. There you go.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and defend our government spending whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. But if I hear one more person say welfare before addressing the 55, 60, 56% we spend on military, I just can't do it. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
No, stop.
And as aggravating as that is, that's a great time to educate, really, man. It's easy to want to be condescending to people. But a lot of people really have no idea. They've never heard that. They've never thought that. They never even once tried to, tell them anything about foreign policy. They probably can't point to Iraq on a map.
Yeah.
But it's a great time. It's a much better time for us to open up the door to a conversation about why it matters. Much better time than it is. And then, after you can give them a hard time afterwards when they know this, that you can give a hard time for not knowing it.
Right.
But yeah, definitely, man. It's a shame that as many people are so willing to go to war in such a place, and that they can't even point to in a map and have no reason to even. But what reason do they have to care? Really, they've got everything else. We've got everything else. Why should we? That's the narrative that we're told constantly. If in fact you actually have an opinion about these kind of things.
Yeah, there is that kind of figurative culture wall surrounding. Donald Trump talks about building a physical wall. We already have kind of that metaphysical wall that surrounds us already. We're very isolated, an isolated population in a way that we may have access to news that's going on in the other world, but we can't relate to people on the other side of the world. We don't care. We truly don't care about other people on the other side of the world. And war.
Part of our indoctrination. We're indoctrinated to feel that way. We're indoctrinated to feel the American exceptionalism, so we don't care about the other countries for a reason, so that we can continue to be at war with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I tell you what, we're going to jump into all of this and more in the second hour of Anti-Media Radio. We will be back in just a few minutes, and listen to us always at www.ucy.tv/TAMR.
Streets of soul,
Take that toll. Take that on the low. The maker only knows. Transgressions find exchange in the depths of stairways. The temptations of your bankroll. Never be there to be down. Life will never be fair to an easy out. Just round the way where she told me the truth, station ways, not quite midnight, still gets down the line. Victoria, one way. Too late, walking strap of tragedy. Experience the sea. Their favors over can't conceive. Oh, we're not Tuckies. The sorrow of a natural view is only bound to read the curiosity of you. I will never be still from the ground. Sound will always be there. Disregard the count. Just round the way when she told me the truth. Station ways, not quite midnight, still gets down the line. Victoria, one way. Just round the way when she told me station ways, not quite midnight, still gets down the line. Victoria, one way. Just round the way when she told me the truth. Station ways, not quite midnight, still gets down the line. Victoria, one way. Just give me back to listen one more time all the way to the end of the line. Just give me back to listen one more time all the way to the end of the line. Just give me back to listen one more time all the way to the end of the line. Just give me back Brixton, give me back Brixton, give me back the Brixton.
Welcome to Hour 2 of Anti-Media Radio. This is your host, SM Gibson. Joining the studio tonight with Kevin and Rob. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hello, friends.
Good to be back.
And joining on the line with Claire Burnish. Claire, what's up?
Not much. What's up?
And as always, you can listen to us on ucy.tv/TAMR at 11 or 10 p.m. I'm going to get it right one day. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And always catch your replays on YouTube by searching for Anti-Media Radio. So to kind of, I guess, drop off from the conversation we were having, the political system, is a show, but that doesn't mean that what we're talking about isn't an issue because of the human rights aspect of everything. All these actions have a consequence. And we're seeing, unfortunately, we're seeing people right now in Iraq. We've seen car bombs going off. The violence is ramping up and escalating. We will be back in Iraq, I'm predicting, within 365 days, it'll be full on.
Not that we've ever left, but you're right.
Not that we ever left. You are correct. And the only reason that we're seeing so many people die in Iraq right now is because of a failed U.S. foreign policy. Now, we have somebody like Donald Trump who is running for president, promising people a foreign policy. I do want to remind everyone that George W. Bush ran in 2000 as we are going to stop policing the world because Bill Clinton has been policing the world, and we're going to stop this. George W. Bush. So whatever you're hearing Donald Trump say about stopping policing the world, good luck with all that and see how that works out for you. I think it's going to take the will of the people to rise up and kind of say that we don't want to be back in Iraq. But they're keeping everything so low key this time. They're not ramping everybody up. They're not beating the war drum. They're just kind of doing it without people knowing. Do you think the issue, Claire, is raising awareness for a situation like that?
Yeah, I do. I think that's always key.
Well, the American people have also, I think we've gone through a little bit of a war burnout, where I think if you took one of those scientific polls we were talking about earlier, people are tired of war.
I just kind of hope that people aren't so tired of it that they start to ignore it. And it is so commonplace, it's pervasive, it's like everyday life. I mean, the U.S. is always at war. And I think there's a danger that people will kind of stop paying attention after a while.
Right.
And
people get desensitized to things. And I think as a people, we've become desensitized to war. It has become kind of so much of the norm that, it used to be very entertaining to watch on TV. But now I don't think you see it. You're not seeing strikes on television, not to say that they're not happening. Not to say that it'll ever be primetime TV again, because at one time it captured people's eyes and it was something seemingly new.
It used to be good PR, now it's bad PR.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
definitely. And people don't trust their government anymore either about why they're actually going into Iraq and now Syria, and after what happened in Libya. People are starting to really, like you said, Rob, get war weary. And Claire, I completely sympathize. I was going to make the point too that in a dream world, if Donald Trump was to say get in office and suppose somehow something happened and the economy actually started to tick up, do you think for 1 second that people would care so much about the war to the small amount they do already? Probably not. I think along with people getting desensitized, I think rather than necessarily getting desensitized, they're just not, I think you touched on it earlier, Rob, also, they're not aware. I mean, most people are not thinking about it.
Here's what the U.S. government has figured out. They have realized that they can bomb any country in the world. They can go to war with any country in the world, and they can kill anybody they want to kill as long as it's being done by airstrikes and drones. If there's not U.S. soldiers being reported as casualties and there's not families mourning in the United States, then the United States does not care who we kill.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, not only what can we do, I say what can an individual do, but they're going to justify it. It was obviously in defense of American so-called
There's
interests.
nothing to justify. Who's asking the question? I mean, we've been in Afghanistan for how long now? And we, the people, can sit here and have a conversation amongst ourselves about why aren't we still in Afghanistan, but who in Washington that, you know, has any influence on these decisions is saying that. But we were told Obama did. I will never forget Joe Biden saying at the Democratic convention in 2012, we're going to be out of Afghanistan. We've got a plan. And I just remember laughing and thinking, like, as I laughed, I bet everybody thinks I'm just some conspiracy nut that thinks they're all a liar. And guess what? We ain't left yet.
No, we won't. John McCain said, I think we'll be there for the next 100 years in Iraq.
What did he say he wanted? No, was it Bush that wanted 100 and McCain wanted 50? Or
probably. Well, they all want to make,
matter.
you know, the powers that be all want to make all those little countries in the areas vassals of the U.S. Or some globalist elite. You know, that's all they want is to be able to control the industry and what goes on in the in and outs, at least to whatever extent they can.
And unfortunately, I think that so much of our lives have become dictated by the culture around us with TV, you know, these gossipy stories and this kind of stuff. And we, even, you know, as somebody that's going to admittedly go Roll Tide, I'm a huge Alabama fan. People sports, they get wrapped up in that.
We've got plenty of distractions to keep
us
from.
And, you know, they go to sleep on everything around them. And they don't care, you know. But as soon as it's their family, the thing that blows my mind is you ask, especially here in the South, especially something like, I'll go over there, I'll kill whoever, you know,
right.
Whatever term comes out of their mouth. What would happen if China just started patrolling the streets of your neighborhood just to keep you safe?
Oh, I saw a documentary on that once, actually twice. I think it was called like Red Dawn or something. But.
Yep, that was it.
Really, I haven't seen this.
You've not seen Red Dawn?
Mm-mm.
The first or the second?
It's not a documentary.
Claire?
Yeah.
No.
Neither?
No.
Oh.
No.
I'm pretty illiterate on that kind of stuff.
They're not bad. I mean, they're cheesy, of course,
Yeah,
but I mean, they're good flicks. They're into cheese.
So I assume that the premise is that people won't stand for that.
The Russians come in and invade, yeah.
Not if you invade like a boarding school. They certainly won't. The kids will band together and take a
fight them off a group of high school kids.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the Goonies all over again.
Oh, it's funny because
yeah, right.
This is the Goonies. Isn't
No, I've never.
Yeah, I would say
see
so.
Really because I've never seen the Goonies. That's what I meant. by that.
What?
I know. That's the look.
You don't have TBS at all either, because they've like replayed
I know.
this
I'm holding out
for like a decade. They replayed it on
holding.
loop on TBS. It seems.
Look, you're gonna lower me down into my grave, Bob Dylan style. We just him to sing it over my corpse, but 6 feet down, just to make sure I'm dead. But guess what? I'm not seeing the Goonies when it happens.
Sorry, man.
I've made it this far.
No Goonie spoilers.
Right.
Scott hadn't seen it yet.
So
no, but you like to think people wouldn't stand for it here.
But they do. They do. I mean, you see these pictures circulating around on memes of, you know, people with their hands up in the air in front of Hitler. And then you see the exact same thing from a Trump rally. And, of course, people automatically say, but you're comparing Trump to Hitler. You're comparing Trump to Hitler. That's crazy. You can't do that. People are missing the point. It's not the extremity. It's going along with just some blind ideology.
You're not so much comparing Trump to Hitler as you are comparing Americans to Germans.
Bingo. Bingo.
Well, a lot of people think
That's
you're
it.
talking about that they get stuck in the 6 million Jews. They think that you're implying that Trump would kill 6,000 people when it's really, like you said, and Rob, to go along with that, it's a critique on the political system that he seems to be, and even his rhetoric that he seems to be employing. It's not a belief that he'll be murdering 6,000 people out in the streets. Although I'm sure there are people that do believe that, and some other people that probably hope that would happen. But
I think so far he's only said that he would shoot 2 people in the streets.
they definitely could do so, right? That
He said that he could get away with it.
and would not lose a single vote.
Yeah.
In the middle
I
of
think,
Fifth Avenue, no?
Right. So it's a very particular street.
I think also that it's a good comparison to the German people, but it's also the political atmosphere. Like, it's not going to follow. This isn't going to be like the same pattern. They're not the same people. It's not the same time in history, obviously. But it's the mood and the atmosphere and the permissiveness for such a tyrant to come into power.
Right.
It's both the sheepish people, but it's also the political climate of kind of desperation and a time of like economic inequality and stuff. And I think that's really important for what might be looming down the road.
Do you not think culture is circulative, though? I mean, that we just kind of just repeat this pattern over and over?
Well, it does, but it comes in different manifestations. I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same, but it will be something similar to that. Like, I mean, it's being aware of history is not like, it's not that you shouldn't repeat it, it's that you need to understand what happened and understand why those things happened so that you can just change it. I mean, I don't know.
We're 2 generations removed from Nazi Germany. And I think you could convince people, not to say that, it's not to say that Trump is, but I think you could convince people tomorrow of it. I think you could. I think Trump could do it. If Trump wanted to be Hitler, he could.
I agree.
That's the problem. It's not that Trump is Hitler. It's if he wanted to be, he could be.
Right, or something worse or something similar. It's not going to be exactly the same thing. He's not going to be, I don't think that just because he has the same fascist tendencies means he's going to come into power and murder like millions of people. I don't think that that's necessarily the danger, but that what he could do, the possibilities are endless, in part because we don't know what he would do. He's such a wild card.
In this climate, what the American people would want him to do.
Right.
I think he's speaking to what people want, or at least a segment of the majority, or excuse me, of the population. He's speaking to what a certain segment want to hear, and he's answering, and people are answering the call. Or like Cecil had mentioned about our other host had mentioned previously, that he's speaking at times to different groups of people, and collectively he's speaking to everybody, or at least a large group of people that are, unfortunately going to expect him to act on his campaign promises, which of course he can't do.
No, really.
Well, it's a bit of the dog whistle effect. He throws anger out there, and the angry people hear it and react to it.
That's it. He's not looking for anything other than the votes. And this is why I do go back to the WWE, what we're saying. He knows how to get in the middle of the ring.
He can get over, yeah.
Yeah, and make the crowd go, woo! That's all he's looking for.
But he just happens to be better, and that's not to say that's not the same game that every other politician's playing. He's just
the only
better at it.
thing that man needs is to say, check a box with my name next to it. That's all he needs. Easy for him. Easy. He's been doing this for 30 years. So, yeah. Whatever. I know, Claire, you don't want to talk about it.
I didn't say that. It's not that necessarily. It's just it's crazy because it just feels like the same conversation over and over again in a way.
I agree.
It's perfectly valid, but it seems. I mean, it feels like we're nitpicking the parts of people who are all going to basically do the same thing once they're in office is kind of an exercise in futility.
And I don't disagree.
Yeah, agreed.
But people talk about something. There's somebody talking about baseball right now.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I guess what matters to me here, I think it's not the politicians themselves, but like we were just discussing, it's the atmosphere, it's the followers, it's the failure of the populace as a whole to review history thoroughly, to understand why the things that happened in the past that were so horrible, why they happened. And when, if we don't understand exactly why they happened and see the parallels that are happening right now, that's where history comes, where you're doomed to repeat it. It's not that it just keeps happening over and over again, like of its own volition. It's that failure to review and recall and to recognize the fact that we're in the same situation as the rise of Hitler, like in the early 30s. I mean, this is the same exact climate. It might be a different manifestation if it follows through, but it's the same thing.
And that's, for me, I think what a lot of the political discussion is. Obviously, for me to sit here and say this about Donald Trump or this about Hillary Clinton, they're not listening to me. I'm not saying that to them. I'm talking to anybody out there, not Hillary Clinton because she doesn't have any supporters, but Donald Trump does. And to explain to people, no, this isn't what you want to do. It's not so much talking about the politics, but to the climate of the politics. And the propaganda that's being thrown out to people non-stop on whatever corporate channel you want it to be. And that's kind of why I feel drawn to talk about it, because I know they're being bombarded with nonsense. Does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense. I mean, that's exactly right. And there's something, and this is maybe, okay, here's something different. I think that Trump is definitely that dangerous figure. But I think that even though we know how Hillary is, I think that she represents the same kind of desperation to cling to authority that he does. And therefore, she could be equally as dangerous in office. Wow. In different ways, but like her ways would be more insidious. But
nobody likes her. She doesn't have the support of the people. People would be on the front lawn of the White House so fast if she tried anything. They hate her. They would look for a reason to do that.
Well, look, like earlier, when given, I guess, the devil that you know, I guess I'm one of those people who decides more to go that route. But you're right. She doesn't. I mean, any support that I give her is...
She's the safer choice to me. I think she's the safe choice. And I say that because we know what we're going to get. It's not going to be a good choice.
That was my argument for quite a while, too. And I'm still partial to it.
It's the I know what we're going to get choice. And again, Trump, roulette reel.
Yeah.
Roll it. Get what you get.
But do you think he can actually destroy this country?
Yes.
Any more so than what has already been done?
Yes. I do. I think it could fix.
I agree with that, actually.
Honestly, I think he could fix it, too.
Yeah,
I think
on the dark the darkest timeline, Trump, yes, he destroys the country.
Mm-hmm.
Brightest timeline, Trump, it doesn't
destroy the country.
Yeah, that's
it. Right.
And there might not be that many degrees in between. I don't think he'll ever do a lot of the things that he says he'll do because I don't think he intends to. He's never going to build a wall.
I don't think so.
He's never going to ban Muslims.
He's never going to do that.
Well, he's reversed on the Muslim position already.
Yeah.
The only reason I think he would ever build that wall is because he has put his head in the sand. Like, he has drawn the line. Every other policy, he's just kind of waffled on.
But again, we're talking about
the
one man
waffled on that wall.
We're talking about the one man who could completely get in office and convince the same group of people who were so adamant about why it would be beneficial for, good Lord knows how, whatever reason, he could do it.
He could do it in one tweet.
He could do it.
He could do it in one tweet.
He could, and the other thing is that this is like the last gasp of a dying empire too. So the politicians in general are kind of desperate to make sure that they assert the whole imperialist hegemony across the world. So as it kind of fizzles out, there's going to be more extreme acts. I think more. Like starting wars without getting approval and stuff, and like we just found out we're in Yemen on the ground, and we have been. These things will be even worse when, like under Trump, I imagine.
I think though that people, the difference is everyone knows they cannot trust Hillary Clinton. They feel like they can trust Donald Trump because he is going to sit here and go, yeah, I did this, I did this, I did this, so what? So they feel like he's going to tell them the truth about this stuff. That's where I think it really boils down to. It's that. That's why when you see on Fox News, he tells it like it is. He'll tell us if we should really be there because we've been lied to for so long. He'll tell us.
Well, a lot of that, I think, has to do with his perception of being an outsider, too.
I was just going to say that.
That, he's not afraid to tell us the things that the establishment is afraid to tell us. But I think that's a clever ploy on his part.
Mm-hmm.
He may not be, and I can't even say he may not be Washington establishment because business interests are Washington establishment, and he's even said in the past that and it's well known his support for Hillary Clinton. He is one of those guys who uses money as power. So to expect something different from someone who has been such a major cog in this system of corporate money and corporate
openly
interest,
so,
right? To expect expect him to come in and change the system, I think is a little. I think it's a little naive.
He's been an open player in the system, and still to this day brags about it.
Yeah.
Whether he's talking about why'd you do this, or this. I mean, what was it? The story, Claire. Was it in Delaware? Is it Delaware? They've got how many addresses?
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was tons.
And of course, Hillary, gave some BS answer, and Trump was just like, "Well, that was the law, and I wanted to save some money." And everybody's just kind of like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Trump. It's I've always said this about Bill Clinton. If Bill Clinton would have did what he did, and instead of walking out there going, I didn't have sexual relations with that woman, just looking at everybody in the eye and go, I did it, so what?
Yeah.
In the story. I would have a whole different perception. He wouldn't have lied under oath. He wouldn't have broke the law. He wouldn't have done a lot of stuff.
And the impeachment process would have never happened.
Never.
No, it would have happened. A lot of people don't realize this because the impeachment process actually got derailed. The original impeachment process by Newt Gingrich in the House at the time. Sorry to, I don't make this long, but Clinton was in the shenanigans, including the Clinton administration for selling nuclear and weapon secrets to China. And so there were already some things that he was being brought up on. And the reason I understand this because at the same time, that's where the famous quote about this is a vast right-wing conspiracy. Mm-hmm. And I hate to throw this out there again. There were other groups, including the one I'm about to mention, but the John Birch Society had a campaign where they work hand-in-hand with a lot of other campaigns, and there was a big this is kind of before the big boom of the internet activism, so there was a lot of postcards and letters written to senators and whatnot. So a lot of this stuff was grassroots stuff that people were really upset in arms with Clinton, and a lot of it had to do with over the nuclear secrets. And Newt Gingrich himself kind of took the helm and kind of redirected that. To my understanding, I'm sure there's varying opinions about that, but can you believe that Clinton got brought up on something so small like that in this day and age? I mean, which one is more believable, that he was being brought up on something a little more legitimate or something like Monica Lewinsky's lying to Congress? There's a lot more, and it shouldn't surprise anybody there's other shenanigans going on behind the scenes. But anyways, I thought that was an interesting example of how the Republicans and the Democrats are going to work hand in hand to make sure that both of them, it works out best for both of them.
Well, Bush isn't going to police the world. So.
Oh, of course not. Right.
Right.
Read my lips, no new taxes.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear that Newt Gingrich is getting floated to be Trump's vice president?
It would be pretty fitting for Trump, actually. Newt's as much as he's considered a conservative, and he's done a lot of conservative stuff, he quotes Alvin Toffler, his wife, who wrote The Third Wave, are big time supporters of this kind of progressive new age ideology about a technocratic society ran by, of course, technocratic elites. And he's a real strong, he wears a good public face of a true conservative. He made the comment the other day about Trump's not being one of the secret society members. And a lot of people jumped on that as proof that he's not an establishment.
Oh, well, Newt's been the kind of more, like he was the one candidate in 2012 that didn't really call Ron Paul crazy. He was like, he's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he gave
everybody else, what they called him a lunatic. Newt was like, he's kind of right.
Right,
and he's kind of crazy.
Right, yeah, he was definitely a little softer on him. That's for
he
sure.
was, yeah. So I can see Newt presenting himself as an outsider. It seems like the more time has passed from his dealings actually being
with his marriage too, all that stuff is in the press.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a scandal as far as what Clinton did compared to what Newt Gingrich did, and your character.
Yeah, his wife being sick with dying of cancer, and
But let him be your vice president. Why not?
No, time heals all wounds, and people tend to forget about those things. I think Newt would probably be more so than some names that have been thrown about, an effective VP candidate with Trump.
He's the best.
It's hard for me not to argue that he would.
No. I mean, what I threw my tantrum about Bob Corker the other night. I mean, Newt sounds way better than all that. Of course he does. When you get somebody that is just rigid, hardcore establishment, and you get somebody that you think could maybe be because of a few certain things they've done, of course you're going to go with the, well, maybe. Because that's what Trump is. He's the, well, maybe vote. Well, maybe it'll work out.
Is the Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Hail Marys thrown every year, but there's only a few Cordell Stewarts walking around.
Yeah, that's been 14 years at least.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it's been over that. It's been like 20 years.
Yeah, we're old.
Yeah, we are old.
Seemed just like yesterday. He was launching that ball.
Old Slash.
But
we digress.
We do. It's okay. Can't talk about Cordell Stewart once in a while. Then what can you talk about?
Sure, it's a free country. For now.
For now. Until they ban our rights to talk about Cordell Stewart freely.
As long as your definition of free lines up with the list of varying definitions the government uses.
Okay, can I start every show from here on out? I thought about this the other day, just ranting about how we don't live in a free country because you literally have to pay not to go to jail. Should I just start every show that way?
Yeah,
Because that seems like that's something that should really be hammered home to people. You will literally go to prison if you don't pay the government money.
Yeah.
That's not freedom.
No.
I'm going to do it. Every show, it's going to get real.
You should do that.
It's going to be horrible. And they're going to be like, I wish you would stop this.
People don't realize the essential debtors prisons that were, and the debtors courts that were running against poor people.
Started to mention that. Yeah, the remainder, the fact that we, that's what America basically is looking like now. Yeah. You get in jail, you got a good luck trying to get out if you not got some money to back you up.
No.
Oh, but if you do, nothing's going to happen. I tell you, what's the story? I mean, the story of there was a judge or something over here the other day, got a DUI and just disappeared. Somewhere over the mountain.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, you know what would have happened if it would have been me?
Oh, yeah. You'd be under the jail.
Imagine if you'd been black.
Oh my God.
You probably did.
Well, yeah. Still probably be under the jail, but literally.
Yeah.
Holman Square style, Chicago. Where are we at with that story? I know the last I heard, Claire, that they had supposedly whatever with Holman Square. They're not running it anymore. That's what they're claiming.
Yeah, I mean, they were claiming, first of all, they were claiming that it was never a black site to begin with.
That wasn't a dirty lie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was. But the thing that's more disturbing about about that whole issue is that that's one department, one area of one department in one city in the entire country.
And
we only know about it because I can't even remember how we know about it, whistleblower or something. Yeah, it was whistleblowers.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine how many other sites, just considering our country and our government and how bad and insidious it is. I mean, there have to be, I would guess, probably hundreds of those sites, or the equivalent, like not necessarily totally black sites, but pretty much close to that. So. And people are probably terrified to come forward.
Even smaller sites that are probably possibly worse than that.
Right, that too.
Who knows if there's not CIA rendition places right here in the U.S. Spread all around. You never know what could be right down the road.
As scary as it is to say, like to think about that as being a possibility, I would actually be shocked if that wasn't.
I've got an interesting story that I'll have to tell you later about some friends and what they ran into out in Pelham, out in the woods. But anyways, so it's totally believable.
As far as we know, there are places within our own municipal jail that are while the municipal jail may not be a black site, it's not to say they don't have some black corners.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, just in the building you see.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Well, just think about how bad, solitary is, how bad the problem with solitary confinement is. If you look at that alone, it almost proves that there have to be worse sites and worse areas of all, prisons and jails and everything all across the country.
For people that haven't paid attention to the whole solitary thing, there was some documentary or something I saw. Don't do that to people.
No.
These people are.
I'd lose my mind in like 2 days.
These people are cutting themselves and trying to just literally do anything they can to harm themselves just to not be in there anymore. I mean, I can't even imagine. And it's not just like, one person does it. It's everybody. It's just like, I can't take this.
Oh, the whole idea is bad enough. You're in jail. You've lost all of your rights. You don't have the right to privacy. You don't have the right to possession, property, any of those things. They give you the stripes that you wear, and you sleep on a metal bunk. And then within that, they can take that from you and put you in a hole where you will see no one. You will see no daylight. You get fed even more terrible food than what you were being fed. It's long-term torture.
Think about the people who have been freed from there. There have been people who have been exonerated from their crimes. I remember there was a story recently, and I cannot remember that person's name, but he was in solitary confinement for 36 years.
Woo!
That's amazing. He's still alive.
Like the death penalty would have been better.
That should break him.
The death penalty would have been better.
Yeah. I probably would have slammed my head against the wall repeatedly until I was dead. I don't think I could handle it. I really don't.
Wow.
Well,
it's now that we're talking about this, it's funny because we are because the up in the how quickly it escapes from the news up in not Colorado, Denver, and the Bundys and man, I'm horrible. What's the guys that got arrested up there, the Hammonds? They're actually being supposedly held in solitary confinement where they've been held for some time now, supposedly for their own protection. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the reports coming out, but these guys
I saw that.
held in solitary confinement. But now, from my understanding, I think Cliven is supposedly trying to sue the federal government for cruel and unusual punishment. Let's see how far that goes. But these guys were already facing a penalty for under the terrorism charges for the fires. It would not surprise me if they were actually not being held under something like the NDAA. Or at least some of those things didn't apply, that these guys will never get out or have a trial. Where's the trial? Has there been, I've never heard anything whatsoever about where that's going. Who knows if they'll ever get one.
You mentioned the NDAA. Did we talk about this on Tuesday?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So the newest version of the NDAA, 2017, just so you know, is, last year's version was like 600 billion or whatever it was. Like 620 something.
That's like 9 trillion.
No. It gets way better. So this year it's like 500 and something. So it's 570 around in there. Sounds like a great cut. Fantastic. Great job, America, saving money. Well,
it's done with like much smaller type, isn't it? It's like half size of the types. There's like twice. as much
turns
order.
out
Microdot.
that's only accounting. So that 575, 620 something for last year. This year's 570, but it only accounts for 4 months of war spending because we're going to have a new president. And so he's going to have to declare emergency war fund for whatever eventualities may take place. So the 570, wow, sounds like a great deal.
You're right.
Is only for 4 months.
It's like a loophole.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
For 4 months of war spending, yeah. But of course, the NDA includes, every single bit of spending that the Department of Defense does and everything. But that, yeah.
And then also the emergency war spending that we would see come up. I mean, that's a whole. Imagine what could be done with that.
Oh, man. See, and they know there's something crazy coming that we're not supposed to know about yet. But as I keep hammering home, going back into Iraq. Signs are all there. They're telling you it's happening. It's not me saying it. It's literally the generals in the army telling you this is about to happen, and nobody's paying attention to it.
But it's not the only one. That's the problem. It's not just Iraq. It's also Afghanistan. It's also Yemen. I mean, we are
Afghanistan. So the good news is we're not going back into Afghanistan in any capacity because we never left in any capacity.
No, but they'll bolster forces there.
All right.
But, that's what, they know that's coming. That's what they're going to need all that extra money for. Who knows? They're saying it. They're saying that they're trying to be very expedient in the process of ramping up the war in Iraq.
Have we seen the what they were saying about what Panama Papers came out with about Saudi Arabia financing at least factions of Saudi Arabia financing Netanyahu's re-election campaign?
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up because there's an interesting plan called the Greater Israel Plan that I don't know if you guys have seen, but Ken O'Keefe covers it. And it's you can Google it. It's basically about Israel having a desire to take over and basically expanding their borders to a gigantic region. I mean, like huge, basically encompassing a lot of Syria and, of course, where they already have land and elsewhere. So I think if, in fact, we're seeing some of this, it would kind of answer some of the questions about why we've seen some questionable moves by Israel and why we've not seen Israel really being attacked by some of ISIS and some of the other forces who you would think would be targeting Israel, and why we've seen Israel helping Syrian soldiers, helping them recoup in some of the Israeli hospitals.
Well, depending on, which arm of propaganda in the world you listen to.
Yeah, good point.
They're, ISIS and Israel supposedly have helped each other out at times on the border.
Well, we know Hezbollah and Israel have worked together, and
Right.
it wouldn't be a complete surprise if they were.
Well, is that true? Who knows? Nobody.
Well, we don't really know
Because
either to what degree. I mean, Israel, for one, like a number of countries, are notorious for working through other proxies. So who knows if the people on the ground even realize that they're necessarily dealing with Israeli factions.
And Iran has a lot of that kind of junk come out.
Of course.
And, that the Mossad was caught with, members of that, and CIA people, caught with members of ISIS in headquarters. And, is that true? Who knows? That's the thing, they're lying just like we are. Everybody's like,
it's a propaganda.
That's an American thing I come across is, oh, so we're the bad guys. It's always us. We're just terrible. We're just lying. It's everybody. This is just a back and forth.
I get that with my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks you hate America if you criticize Americans.
Mm-hmm. And it's not.
It's like, hey, I'm not denying that China and Russia and all these other countries are just as bad, but hey, I live here in this country, and my tax dollars
I'm not paying for
this.
Iran's army to do anything.
Exactly right.
I'm paying for this army to do things. So, that's what I'm going to address.
Mm-hmm.
And, but patriotism, I'm just going to go off on you about that one day. Patriotism.
You can, but just mark my words the way you knew you understood me to mean them.
It's a bad word.
Well, blind patriotism is especially bad. Having pride in
That's true.
who you are and where you come from, there's nothing wrong with that. But
I do agree with what you're saying.
and there's a difference between patriotism and jingoism.
Well, we know. I like to just go to the extreme and just say you're bad for just believing this one thing, like everybody else.
You're right.
Let's do it that way.
It's black. There is no.
It's black and white.
Black and white. There's no
There's
gray
no
area.
gray.
No gray.
Right.
We're gonna do it. Look.
I think also that people, the whole like blind nationalism thing, it's said that there's nothing wrong with loving your country. You don't have to support your government or whatever. I think people also need to realize that you can still have pride in the place that you're from, but welcome people into it as well.
Yeah, and still be critical of those in power.
Of course.
Well, it's kind of like if you have a kid and your kid gets really, really bad on drugs, if you love your child, do you try to get them to stop taking drugs, or do you take them to the drug dealer because those drugs make them feel good and you just keep buying them the drugs? Because that's what we're doing as Americans. Because we just keep saying, but you love your country, don't you? So just keep doing it. Just keep supplying what they need because it's what they need. They said they need it.
Are you saying patriotism is a tool of enabling? That's deep, bro.
Oh, I really like that. I like that.
That's what we're here for. Nonsense. So, yeah, y'all threw me off.
Sorry.
Way to go! Yeah. So, yeah, man. John McAfee for president. How about that?
I would vote. Yeah, I would vote for him. Certainly.
If I had to vote for somebody, I'd vote for that guy.
Yeah, he's happens to be the only presidential candidate with a vice presidential candidate who is of Muslim faith.
See?
Yeah.
He's also the only one that's done this show, right?
He is the only presidential candidate to do this show.
And that says a lot right there.
That says a lot.
Well,
right
that's
there.
only because it's
That's not true.
That's the only one
That
they
is
went after.
Wrong. Oh my gosh. Shannon would kill me right now.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
Besides Vermin Supreme. Well,
okay.
Vermin Supreme.
Well,
Vermin Supreme. So I'm way off.
I'm sorry.
I'm way off.
Apologies. Yeah, well, that's a big get, Vermin Supreme.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
The most viewed radio program in the history of ucy.tv/TAMR 11:10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific.
Doesn't he hold some sort of record as far as like the person who has run the most consecutive
I could see
New
that.
Hampshire primaries or something like that?
I could see that. He's run a lot. He ran a lot more than I realized he ran.
Yeah,
When we
he's been
talked
doing
to
it for
him,
a while.
yeah, I thought it was like 4 times. No, he's
No.
been doing it for
Yeah.
a long time.
I thought I'd heard that somewhere.
He's an interesting guy.
Oh, he's super
He's a
interesting,
really
yeah.
interesting guy.
Yeah, and he's a captivating personality. He's somebody who, I mean, I would love to sit down and talk to him.
Yeah,
Vermin, call back. Vermin, if you're listening, give us a call.
Love you, Vermin. Yeah, if there's a presidential candidate you want to sit down and have a beer with,
It's him.
It would
Yeah.
be him.
Well,
because I'd be a
probably-
little scared to sit down with John McAfee.
Well,
I'd be a little intimidated.
No, by the time all the 8-ball and everything else
yeah, things
was over, I mean,
Right, I'd be intimidated by
who
that.
knows? The doors might be shuttered, the lights are half of them shot out, and
things would get real,
It would be like College Station all over again.
and it may be.
Can you
It
imagine?
would be very interesting. But hey, imagine if you had both of them at one table. Vermin Supreme.
There was a picture of them.
Really?
Yes, I
That's
saw Vermin Supreme and John McAfee. It was just like, man, it's beautiful. It was like, to me, Washington and Lincoln running on the same ticket.
Or like Jay-Z and R. Kelly.
That's really random.
but I see it.
Because-
I'll go with it. Man.
Because to me, I hear Beyonce's husband and
that
peeing on a
dude
15-year-old girl.
That's all I can think of was Dave Chappelle. I want to pee on you.
No, they did it. They did a tour together. I think it was called The Best of Both Worlds or something like that.
Oh, is it the best of both worlds?
It depends on what you're
Speaking
into.
of propaganda,
the
because that is
tour.
what I love talking about the most is propaganda. That is why I do what I do for anti-media, because I want to be anti the propaganda. Beyonce and Jay-Z, wow. Can you say some marketing geniuses?
Can't stand them, but yeah, they are.
I can't stand them
well,
either,
you know,
but
Alex
I can't
Jones
stand them.
Makes some really good points about, the CIA, eliminate being a CIA exercise in subversive propaganda and kind of, type of pop culture brainwashing.
So, like, I could see it. What do you think, Claire? Let's go here. We've only got 10 minutes left. The whole Mark Dice media, are these people?
There was a meeting of executives
Yeah.
that plotted to corrupt black youth through hip hop.
Yeah. What do you think?
That sounds awfully tinfoily.
Yeah,
It does. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not even saying I agree or disagree. I'm asking what you think.
I mean, at this point, almost anything is feasible, but that sounds a little bit. That's not true, is it? Or is that even?
That's how the story. Well, that's how the one story goes. I forget who expounded on this. It's kind of
I've heard that version of events, but do you know if it's true? I don't know.
It's kind of that reminds me of like how there's always reports of people paying protesters to go and disrupt stuff. It's like, yeah, that might be true to an extent, maybe, but I have never ever witnessed that, and ever. It just doesn't compute. So I would really wonder.
What, paying protesters to destroy stuff?
Paying protesters to go and disrupt and cause problems, like at Trump rallies or like in Ferguson and stuff like that. I've just not ever found evidence to.
Those aren't protesters, though. Those are just people that show up dressed up as a protester and cause crap and run and blame.
No, that's different. I'm talking about actual paid protesters.
Oh, well.
See, that's what that reminds me of. It's kind of like,
They have done that. Well, they have done that with union people.
I mean, they did that when a lot of people got pissed off at Soros because they had gone on to do some work.
That has, with union people, that has happened, but whatever. Irrelevant. So, yeah, you're not even going to touch that, Claire. You don't care. That's too...
No,
Fair enough. I respect that because I don't have really an opinion either way. I just, like I said, even though I don't like them, I think they're marketing geniuses. Because this whole affair business, hey, they know how to sell themselves. They're publicity whores. I bet you they're not even, they're married, of course, but I bet you they're not even in a relationship together. I bet you this is business. And I think, you know what? I think try to say this with the stupid wrestling stuff. People should look at this crap. It's crazy. And all these people are just going, look at them, look at them, look at them. Look at what these idiots are doing and try to translate into something positive into the world. Try to use those moronic tactics into making the world a better place instead of selling new Beyonce songs.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I mean, that's the one thing that celebrities have the chance to do with all of that attention on them is they could actually do a lot of good if they spread awareness and had valid topics of concern, but it just doesn't tend to happen.
Celebrity culture drives me insane, but there's something to be said for it. I mean, you can't put your head in the sand and just ignore it and go, well, I just think that's stupid, and just ignore it like it doesn't exist. You can't do that because there's a powerful tool there.
Yeah, that celebrity presence is power.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, they're entertainers who are in the business of entertaining. And a lot of times I feel like there's this fear that if they cross over into, at least in the most powerful, lucrative entertainer, say like a Jay-Z or Beyonce, there's a tendency to stray from using that power because they don't want to damage their brand. They don't want to damage their potential profitability.
And that's... Yeah, but we're talking about somebody with hundreds of millions of dollars, not just somebody that's celebrity culture. I think there's a difference in a Jay-Z that owns part of a professional basketball team, or at one point did, or whatever it was. that became wealthy. I would say.
Who, Jay-Z?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's. I think the.
That's different than celebrity culture and Charlie Sheen getting in trouble. We're talking about the guy with money comes power. Like he does have influence in something.
And according to Spider-Man, with power comes responsibility.
But do what thou wilt.
Ironically, he knows where I'm going with it. There is a Jay-Z interview where they're asking him about does he worship the devil.
You know why?
With Angie Martinez, and he's wearing a shirt that says "Do what thou wilt" on it.
You know why they asked him about that?
Well, yeah, I know why they asked him about
the
that.
song.
Right, but he looks at her and in the most sarcastic tone just goes, "What, me? No, not me."
I hadn't seen that clip.
Mm-hmm. And whether it's true, it's him selling it.
Well, he played
That's all it is.
He played that. It's got that lyric in one of his songs that they play with Danger Mouse. He remixed says "Murder, Murder, Jesus." 666, and that's what caused a little
Here's
bit of
the thing
speculation.
about Jay-Z. I 100% believe this. Maybe Jay-Z does worship.
He's a marketing genius, like y'all
Maybe Jay-Z
said.
does worship the devil. Maybe he does. I have no idea.
I don't think he necessarily does.
I have no idea. Maybe he does, but my speculation is: first off, that stuff's all there. It's all implied. Like this is intentional. That's not a secret. This ain't conspiracy. All that junk's there. I think it's there to sell records.
Oh, yeah,
100% there to make people think da 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 da
After he was
and sell records.
Yeah, after he was accused of being in the Illuminati, you started to notice a lot more
Oh,
Illuminati
yeah.
icons.
He's doing it
in
just to
his
sell
work.
records.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
Of course. That's what it's about. I mean, like you just pick something kind of kitschy and get people talking, and then they have all their attention trained on you, whether it's negative or positive doesn't matter.
It's marketing.
And then you run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because people are hitting click on YouTube over and over and over and over to go, did you see his left calf? Oh, there was a triangle near it. Oh, my gosh. And you know what Jay-Z's going? You just clicked my video 20 times in a row, moron.
Oh, yeah, the cash register.
Uh-huh. Thanks. So I'll put some more stuff in the next video for you. Just for you. You can click it twice as many times. And that's called marketing. And they're good at it.
very good.
And
Very, very
why
good.
can't we use these tools to promote positive things?
It's not that we can't. It's that, I guess at the moment, we're not.
I'll do it.
Okay.
How do I do it?
Memes, bro.
Oh, it doesn't work.
Apparently the meme police don't think so.
It's never dank enough.
I don't know. I think you're pretty dank.
No.
I agree.
It's like,
Dankest meme danker maker that I know, man.
He is the dankest meme danker in the whole
No.
danging world.
Danker can tanker, man. You're it.
mm-mm. You can never be dank enough.
Now that's deep. But you're right.
Claire knows.
I know.
You do.
What about the dank?
So tell us, Claire, what
dank?
is, I tell you what, with just a few minutes here left in the program, what's rolling out in the morning? I know we've got a couple of big stories coming out.
I don't even remember at this point. It's been one of those days. I just don't even know.
Fair enough. I know you're working on the Hillary Russian story, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that.
Hillary's-
Definitely.
She is.
Tune in. We're just gonna tease it. Hillary's a Russian.
She's rushing into prison.
No. Yeah, I guess I am probably working on that.
So, do you think that Putin is going to release 20,000 of Hillary's emails?
No.
No, I seriously doubt it, but anything is possible.
I mean, surely the U.S. would have some more stuff on the Russian government. I mean, that'd be easy to get in a tit for tat type deal.
But also remember the Russian, like the whole Russian culture is that's talk about propaganda. I mean, if he would release any of them, it would be very strategic.
Why do we have this view of Russia being like the all-time propaganda king?
We're just as bad. I'm just saying that
No,
it's
wait. Why? How many countries in the world speak Russian? How many?
Well, this is now, but at one
How
time.
many
They
in-
do have a history of being
Yeah.
pretty good at it.
I understand. Those
Yeah.
are some beautiful posters.
They were.
Beautiful posters. But guess what? Why don't we talk about how the propaganda of Rome succeeded? We're talking about an ancient day. Well, that's it for us on Anti-Media. We will be back next week for Claire, Rob, Kevin. I am SM Gibson. UCY. You could be here on Monday. Anti-Media Radio out.
I'ma let them know, no, through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.